Frank, a few words.
A few words. Well, I agree with the proposition, and I'd be alarmed if the parties were not bankrupt at this stage, because the world that I grew up in is fast disintegrating. It would be amazing if bodies that have collective memories like political parties found it easy to adjust to this new world. And while, of course, there's the issues about immigration and values and so on, I don't believe in any way at all that summarises the huge danger that now confronts our country. And in no way are you, as the electorate, given any guidance to the unfolding drama that is actually occurring. So while Nick had a go at people he disliked and praised people that he liked, it is very, very difficult in this country to get airtime, to get print space for an argument to say the game may almost be up. Now, how do we plan for that tomorrow, which is almost too awful to contemplate? And I've been certainly trying to do that for a year. And even when one speaks in the House of Commons, those comments are not reported anywhere. They're merely the tiny satisfaction. They're on the record for what actually happens. And the disaster unfolding is really as follows, which is going to change the world that I grew up in and that you've grown up in. Because the assumption of centre-left politics has been that somehow the public good is promoted by an increase in the amount that the state spends on our behalf. And that central, unquestioned belief will now collapse. You are in an age, I'm coming towards the end of my political career, but some of you, by looking at you, clearly got, I hope, quite a lot in front of you. You're going to be an age where we are going to have tax increases and public expenditure cuts in an attempt to get an economy which commands some respect in the international markets for its currency. We've left a world in which, until very recently, for every £5 the government spent on our behalf, it borrowed £1, whereas next year, for every £3 it spends, £1 will be borrowed. Now, why we think that somebody out there in the bigger world is actually going to lend us this money is a point that I question. But again, taking Nick's theme, it is very, very, very difficult to get any coverage. And I therefore took this opportunity because I thought at least there might be a modest audience here for me to wax at the danger that we actually face. And the scenario which I most fear, you said that we somehow looked forward for this recession. I don't think you have any idea how horrendous this recession, this slump is going to be. It's, I think, inconceivable when our banking system implodes, when international institutions are shown to be empty, that somehow our political institutions are going to go on as though there is no tomorrow. There's going to be the most huge repercussions. And you saw it today where the mob decided to set on a banker's house. Once we're in that era, who knows who's going to be the next victim that the mob, in its intensity and irrationality, decides it will bring justice to. So a whole political development where these big, big issues were decided in Parliament by reason and in order are now moving out into the streets. So I get no pleasure in saying the day that I feared would be the day when the government couldn't actually sell the next tranche of its debt. They've got an excuse now. They can blame the poor old governor. So whatever Nick was describing won't hit the fan until this terrible event happens again. And then sterling, that's already gone down 30%, goes down by 20% overnight. How do our political institutions respond to, in effect, a collapse in our currency and all that means for the normal economic activity of the country? So I am full of foreboding And I think our press, our media, has failed dismally in trying to actually carry the story, the tragic story, as this is evolving. And the central question, with all the repercussions, if those who lend in the international community give us time, and if there is enough money out there to share out, given that the Americans this year are going to have got a budget deficit of $1,752 billion, which they're going to try and borrow, makes our couple of £100 billion minor in comparison. Supposing the money's out there, the huge structural weakness that we have to deal with, if we have time, is that no government, whatever the zealots are to raise taxes, has managed to raise more than 37% of GDP in taxation. But we, as consumers, have wanted the government to spend 49 plus something of GDP in expenditure. And that age is over. And bringing taxation levels into public expenditure levels are going to bring forward the most extraordinary new politics. And that's what I thought we'd come here to talk about tonight. Thank you, Rex.